What is going on, you guys? What is going on, you guys? So it's come to my attention that the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau might be shutting down. Now, essentially, this could essentially provide major consequences and when it comes to your credit and finances. But here's the truth. They was never your best option to begin with. Okay? I'll show you how to fight back using consumer laws, and I'll show you how to dispute your credit without relying on the CFPB. So make sure you stay locked in, because this right here is going to be a wake-up call for you. Now, what is happening essentially with the CFPB? I want you guys to understand before we kind of dive into this that the CFPB is back up. You can go on the website and actually file a complaint. Okay. It may, if you first open up the CFPB, it may take you to a page and say page is not found. And this is what a lot of people are using as marketing tactics to essentially like get people to believe that the CFPB is gone, but the CFPB is not gone. If you go and you submit a complaint and you put in your information, you can still file a new complaint. But that is not the point, okay? The point of me making this today is essentially to talk about how there is a potential that they could shut down the CFPB. There's a lot of the higher powers that kind of want this to happen. And the reason why they kind of want this to happen is so that they can continue to take advantage of you or take advantage of the people who don't know how to protect themselves. All right. Now, before we dive into this, I want you guys to understand that this is not legal advice. This is not financial advice, and I'm only giving this to you for educational purposes only. So make sure that you guys are doing your due diligence even after this video, okay? Now, what is kind of happening with the CFPB? The CFPB going through this shutdown is really them wanting to rework how the CFPB is operated, okay? What does the CFPB do? The CFPB is responsible for regulating financial institutions and handling complaints against banks, lenders, and credit bureaus. Now, recently, there have been some legal battles questioning the constitutionality of the CFPB's funding structure. So they want to make sure that they're putting their money into the right places. They want to make sure that they are putting their money into a governmental subdivision that is actually doing their job. All right. Now, the job of them is to regulate credit bureaus, banks, and debt collectors, because you can go on there, you can file a complaint, just like you can file a complaint with the Better Business Bureau and things in that nature, and they will act as a extra channel, an extra eye that you can submit your disputes through. Okay. However, there's a lot of people who utilize this as and we'll talk about this, but there's a lot of people who rely on the CFPB and use this as a end point, meaning if they didn't get a resolution through the CFPB, then they'll pretty much just stop. Okay. But I want to talk about how, if they're doing their job properly, and which they do, and sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. If the CFPB shuts down or loses power, then there will be less regulations, fewer enforcement, and more rooms for the credit bureaus to be left unchecked. Okay. And if credit bureaus continue to do what they do on the consumer side and violating consumer rights, and there's no, government agency that is there to check them and put them in place, then it kind of makes what we do. And I'm not talking about people who know credit repair, but it kind of makes us as consumers more susceptible to things that happen to us, okay? Especially if you don't know the information about the law. Now, why does this matter to you? Because if you've ever filed the complaint with the CFPB, you know that while sometimes it works, many people don't get results, okay? And it's not that they don't get results because it just doesn't work, but it's just that, the structure of the CFPB, whoever was the head of the CFPB, I would just say in some way, shape, or form may have been doing their job properly, okay? And what I'm talking about that is when you send them a complaint about something, they send you back and they're just acting as like a postmaster and sending your letters directly to them. It got to the credit bureaus through them, but they don't even do no real investigation. They just send you back saying it's verified, knowing that there are laws put in place that requires them to provide a certain amount of information. Now, there's aspects of us that we could do a better job of forming our complaints and adding more evidence and, things that are more substantial to our evidence. And we'll talk a little bit about that. But, the whole point is you don't essentially need to rely on the CFPB because, again, they've always never truly been that effective. And it's always been on a circumstantial basis. And once people kind of figure out ways that people are trying to dispute when it comes to the human trafficking or identity theft and things of that nature, they start to crack down on it and shift and change the narrative so that doesn't always work all the time. You always have to create a new type of complaint or a new type of way to do something. But the way that I teach as far as disputing your credit is the way to do it regardless if there's a CFPB or not. Because you can challenge this evidence in state, you can challenge this evidence in federal, you can challenge this evidence in small claims court, whatever level of court that you want. And as long as you're putting them in place and these laws that are still there, you are essentially protecting yourself as a consumer and not genuinely needing a Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. So this is why you shouldn't really rely on the CFPB, because the CFPB acts as a middleman between you and the credit bureaus. All right. And they don't really have real power to force deletions or hold companies accountable. Okay, so essentially all they're doing is just taking your letter and delivering it directly to them. The second thing, most disputes filed through the CFPB often get ignored, closed with no action, or just get a generic response from Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. I just talked about how the fact that when you actually send a response through the CFPB, you typically get back the same exact type of, oh, it's verified, and this, that, and the third. And this is the reason why the CFPB is going through this restructuring, going through this shutdown process because, and again, it's not shut down anymore, but it's going through this restructuring process, and they're trying to find a new head and figure out if it's getting funded properly, because if they're doing everything how they're supposed to do it, and they're actually putting the consumer and the people in mind, then they're trying to put more or different types of leadership in place so that they can actually do their job, okay? And essentially, if you are relying on them, you're actually playing defense, okay? And you're not really on offense, all right? The only way that you can really be on offense is by using federal consumer laws that actually give you the power. Now, what gives you the power is understanding the Fair Credit Reporting Act. Now under the Fair Credit Reporting Act, essentially it breaks down all the regulations that the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau should know and understand and be able to enforce on your behalf. But of course, they're not going to do that, okay? But if you set up your dispute properly, regardless if you use the CFPB or not, you can be able to use this in small claims court, state court, or even federal court. So here are some of the laws that kind of enforce regulations of that the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau should be doing, but also at the same time with credit bureaus, banks, and any other company that do any type of reporting to the credit bureau or credit agencies should be following. Okay. Now I want you guys to understand the CFPB again is the middleman, but the power is actually yours to hold these companies accountable. See, the United States is built off of we the people. So the people actually have more power than the companies. But the only time when you don't have the power is when you don't know your power. Okay. And that's the whole premise of credit, consumer law. That's the whole premise of this economic system is once you understand your power, even people who dive into the private and things of that nature, once you understand your power, then essentially nobody can take advantage of you because you as a natural human being have more power than a dead entity, a corporation. All right? Because we run corporations. You dig me? And even anybody who is an employee of a corporation doesn't have more power than you. So you look at police officers and things in that nature. I don't want to dive in that. Judges, things in that nature. They don't have more power than you. Okay? But they do when they know that you don't know your information. They know that you don't know the law, or when you don't know the law. And so this is why it's important for you to do this, because you actually have more power in holding a company accountable than any other CFPB or regulation structure than anybody else. Okay, so it's important for you to know this stuff. And I'm not just speaking this and you're going to say, oh, well, I'm still going to have to go through the CFPB. Well, no, you really don't if you know the law yourself. And you can go in court and you can be able to contest that and be able to be on offense and say, hey, this company has violated my rights and it is my constitutional right to be able to get these certain things put in place. Okay? So essentially, under the Fair Credit Reporting Act, essentially is the federal law that protects your rights as a consumer when it comes to credit reporting. So again, under the Fair Credit Reporting Act, it gives you the power to dispute inaccurate, outdated, unverifiable information directly with the credit bureaus. And if the bureaus fail to investigate properly, don't verify information, or report inaccurate data, you can sue them for the damage without needing the CFPB. See, the CFPB can't essentially sue them for you. All right. So when you look at the congressional findings, which is the statement of purpose, it says that the banking system is dependent upon fair and accurate credit reporting. Inaccurate credit reports directly impair the efficiency of the banking system, and unfair credit reporting methods undermine the public confidence. Okay, so if the public is not confident in the banking system, which essentially runs the entire economy, the banks, then the economy will not thrive. Okay. Also, at the same time, it talks about how there's a need to ensure that consumer reporting agencies exercise their grave responsibilities with fairness, impartiality, and respect to a consumer's right to privacy. So there's a couple things that's so important. They have to make sure that they are fair. They have to make sure the information is accurate, and they have to make sure that they are protecting the consumer's right to privacy. Okay? You have a right to privacy, and anything that you say is private is private. Even the fact that if you say that even whatever you deem as private is also private information. Okay? So again, you don't have to prove or say anything to anybody unless they verify the information, okay, by what the law says. Okay? So here's some sections of the FCRA to understand. 15 U.S.C. 1681I is the procedures in case of a disputed inaccuracy or disputed accuracy. This one's going to talk about how long they have, what procedures they must take in order to dispute when you actually dispute an inaccuracy, and also at the same time what type of information what type of information and how many days they have to dispute this stuff, how many extra days they have, limitations on extensions. It talks a little bit about the information in regards to any type of relevant information in regards to the dispute that would verify the information. It talks about, many different things, and I won't sit here and read this whole entire section, but if you take a gander at this section, which is the procedures in case of a disputed accuracy, you will have more strength in understanding, okay, these are some things that are required if they say, if I dispute something, they must provide a certain amount of information in order to prove to me that something is verified. And if they cannot prove it to me and prove it to themselves that something is verifiable, that something is accurate, authorized, or not outdated, then you must remove it. Okay, within 30 days. Okay, within 30 days, you have to give me an explanation of why you didn't remove it in 30 days, and it has to be a valid explanation. It can't just be a letter saying verified when I clearly asked you, according to 15 U.S.C. 1681I, what your procedures were and how did you verify this information. Okay? So again, just getting a letter saying verified is not you following 15 U.S.C. 1681I that requires you to provide a certain amount of documentation in order to prove it to me. Saying something is verified is a violation to my rights as a consumer. Okay, it is your grave responsibility to prove these things to me. Okay? Then we go to 15 U.S.C. 1681S2, which talks about the responsibilities of furnishers of information of consumer reporting. Okay? Reporting information with actual knowledge of errors. A person shall not furnish any information relating to a consumer or any consumer reporting agency if the person knows or has reasonable cause to believe that the information is inaccurate. So they cannot report inaccurate information on purpose. Okay? If you send a letter saying something is inaccurate, then by law, they must not report that. Okay? And especially if they don't prove it. Okay? A person shall not furnish information relating to a consumer or any consumer reporting agency if the person has been notified by the consumer at the address specified by the person, if they notice the specific information is inaccurate, and if the information in fact is inaccurate. Okay? So again, if you dispute it as a consumer, it says that it must be removed. Okay? If you deem it as inaccurate, then essentially now it's inaccurate unless it's proven otherwise. Okay? It says even more information around this that is going to be very, important to your case. And again, I always tell a person to do their due diligence and make sure you guys read this yourself. Okay? Then we want to dive into 15 U.S.C. 1681N and 1681O, which talks about the civil liability for willful noncompliance, meaning if they willfully do not comply, then they could be actual damages sustained by the consumer as a result of the failure can be not less than $100 and not more than $1,000. So you can sue them for not complying. And then the other aspect of negligence, meaning that you're just being negligent or you're just ignoring what I'm asking you for, right, or not taking my case serious, then essentially I could also assess you for the same amount of damages, attorney fees, and things in that nature. Once you bring up this information in court and you talk about suing them, by law, it says on the Fair Credit Reporting Act that you can sue them according to 1681N and 1681O. Up to $1,000 per violation. So if they violate your rights by being negligent, they violate your rights by willfully lying to you, and you have it on record of them being willful in their non-compliance, meaning if they're not complying to 15 U.S.C. 1681I, then they are literally either willfully not taking action, or they're just neglecting you and treating you like you don't know what you're talking about. Okay? So essentially, how do you want to do this? Okay? This is when you guys want to start taking notes, all right? Because I'm not that tech, and I'm not about to pull up all these different letters and show you guys how to write letters and this, that, and the third. If you want to learn how to write letters, then join my school community. It'll be down below. But first things first, man. If you want to be able to dispute things the proper way, the first thing that you want to do is you want to go ahead and, instead of complaining to the CFPB, you want to start disputing these things and get on offense. All right. The first thing you want to do is you want to use the FCRA 15 U.S.C. 1681 to demand an investigation. You want to create a letter and say, hey, I want to, these are certain things on my credit report that essentially I believe to be inaccurate, and you list out those items on your credit report that you believe to be inaccurate, okay? And again, accuracy means the measurement of value by law, and something that is fair also has to be something that is not to your detriment, and they are benefiting to your detriment. So if you say to provide a certain amount of information to prove something is accurate to you, you have a right to do that. It doesn't matter if you actually got a late and this, that, and the third, because we can easily argue that there is no such thing as a late. We can easily argue that loans are actually not real. We can easily argue that when they say that you was late or when they say that you didn't pay something, you can easily argue and say that, yes, I have. I sent you a promissory note according to fractional banking, that when I send you guys a promissory note, you guys exchange that for the money. And if we talk about 15 USC 6, not 15 USC, but 12 USC 1431, you guys can't even loan us money. So if you talk about you loaning me money, I need you to prove that to me. But they won't dive in that deep, okay? And what does this say? It says the Federal Home Loan Bank or the Federal Reserve, subject to the rules prescribed by the director, borrow and give, only have the ability to borrow and give securities therefore and pay interest thereon, issue debentures, bonds, and other obligations such as terms and conditions that the director may approve. Okay, so long story short, they cannot just, they're not, it says borrow and give. It doesn't say loan. So if they tell you some type of BS and say that they loaned you something, they did not loan you anything at all, and you can challenge them on those things. This is why they'll never be able to prove that anything on your credit report is accurate, because what they're going to say is that you was late and all these terms that they made up. Okay, and they cannot just say that they made certain terms up. Okay, so if they were to say they made certain terms up, or if they did say that they loaned you on record, then they'll be violating 15 U.S.C. 1611. And they'll be under criminal liability for false and misleading information. See, I can dive and keep going. And this is why I'm able to be on offense when it comes to credit reports and credit bureaus and things of that nature. Because, look, I know my laws and I know my rights as a consumer. And in order for you to be strong in this stuff, you have to be willing to do the due diligence. You have to be willing to learn the information. You have to be willing to challenge them on these things and go through trial and error. You have to be willing to take them to court. You have to be willing to take the risk to understand these things, because if you don't do it, then they're going to take advantage of you. And as you can see, when the CFPB goes down, then you guys are going to be in a situation where you're going to feel like you can't do anything. Now, if a creditor is continuing to report false information, you want to dispute them directly. Now, if you want to make sure you do the dispute process, you want to demand investigation. After you demand investigation, they're going to come back and say some BS saying that it's verified. You want to request a method of verification. You want to ask them not just for a generic response. You want them to provide an actual method of how they verified that information. And you want to make sure that you send everything certified so that you have proof and record of when you sent it to them and when they received it. The second thing you want to do is you want to challenge the furnishers, and if they are reporting that information according to 15 U.S.C. 1681S, if you ask them to provide information on something, and or you ask them to prove an inaccuracy, if it's something that is disputed, then they must take it off. If you say it's inaccurate, it says that in 15 U.S.C. 1681S that you must take it off. All right. And the third thing is you want to document every single violation and be prepared to sue. If they don't comply in 30 days, document that error. Say, hey, it's February 10th now. You get them saying, I sent my letter on February 9th. All right. So by the time it gets to by the time it gets to March 10th, and I haven't received any type of information that verifies that the way that they have provided that information of something being verified, then boom, you are literally violating my rights. So you want to document that. A second thing you want to do is make sure you document the type of response that they give you. If they haven't given you the response according to 15 U.S.C. 1681I about their reinvestigation, if they haven't done that, then you will stand on 15 U.S.C. 1681O, 15 U.S.C. 1681N, and take them to small claims court and federal court. Okay? Now, essentially, obviously, make sure that you have legal aid. Make sure you consult a legal professional. But when you do these things properly, because you don't need an attorney to send them letters, you don't need an attorney to dispute this stuff, but essentially, if you do this properly and you take this information to an attorney or a legal aid or somebody who specializes in consumer complaints, this is going to be like a kid in a candy factory. They're going to look at this and say, damn, this person did all this work, and all I got to do is just fight this case according to the FCRA, and I know based off of this evidence that they cannot win. Oh, yeah, it's going to be easy money in the books for something like that. Now, think of this as something as a wake-up call. Stop relying on the CFPB, okay? This situation proves even more why you should educate yourself. Number 2, consumer law is the best weapon against any type of credit bureau consumer reporting agency, okay? Learn it, use it, and take control of your financial future. And if you wait for someone to fix your credit for you, you'll always be at the mercy of the system. You'll always be waiting for the CFPB to do something for you. You'll always be waiting for the system to be better for you. But the whole point is for some of us who watches these videos and say, hey, I want to be private. Well, listen, if you want to be private, then you need to understand these laws. A lot of us want to be private and don't know the laws. A lot of us just want to submit a couple of forms and hope that we get results. Well, we don't understand the law ourselves. We don't understand how to do these things ourselves. And this is the reason why we put ourselves in a detriment. And this is the reason why we feel like, oh man, the CFPB shuts down, so now I can't get anything, or now I can't dispute my credit. I have many people reaching out to me saying, hey, can we fix our credit now? Or dang, what happens now that the CFPB is gone? Well, look, I was never really relying on the CFPB before. And I've been getting deletions, and I've been getting things and getting results for my clients and for myself and things in that nature. And this is the reason why, because I understand the law. I do the due diligence. I'm willing to learn it. I'm willing to dedicate my time spend that 1 hour a day so I can be able to put myself in a position to be able to remove negative items, to be able to put myself in a better financial position. Because it doesn't just stop with knowing a couple things and knowing a couple forms and knowing a couple laws so that you can just say it to people and just, get excited about it and speak to agents and things in that nature. Okay? But if you learn the laws, you'll be the one that's in control. You'll be the ones that's in full control when it comes to disputing your credit, when it comes to debt, when it comes to any other obligation that you feel like you struggle with as a consumer, any type of right that you have. You are able to protect yourself. Why? Because you are the one in control. And my whole premise of this channel is to make sure that you take in charge of your life. You take control of your life, and you're not sitting here waiting for someone to give something to you. Stop relying on the government. See, the government is its own entity, is its own governmental entity, and its own business itself that is always going to focus on its business. All right. And if you guys focus on your business and your private businesses, then you will make sure no other business will take advantage of you. You'll make sure you understand all the laws and things that's regulations and put in place so that you can be able to go and grow your business. And this is the whole point of this channel. Okay. So if you're serious about fixing your credit, learn how to sue these bureaus. Down below, drop FCRA in the comments so I know that you got all the way to the end and got this game. Another thing, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, because if you like, comment, and subscribe, you're going to keep getting this energy. I'm going to keep investing my energy into you because you're investing your energy into me. And then the second thing, and the third thing, down below I have a collection of links from the Complete Debt Guide, teaching you how to literally legally challenge debt collectors and use the exact same process when it comes to credit bureaus. Okay. Also, at the same time, I have links down to the school community that you can be able to join the school community and learn exactly how to be able to dispute credit properly and get access to the credit AI software so that you can write these letters for yourself. And lastly, if you want to book a one-on-one call with me so that you can be able to get more of this game and get more one-on-one consultation and understand exactly what I'm talking about in a more personal and deeper letter, down below, book that call. Okay. A lot of people charge all this type of money for these calls and this, that, and the third, and they don't even know how to do these certain things. All right. So guess what? Take action. Whatever it is that you need to do, if you want to go and learn this stuff yourself, take action. I implore you to take action. I implore you to write these things down. I implore you to take notes. I implore you to watch this video multiple times. I implore you to watch all of my videos because this is free game that nobody is given. I'm telling you, they're going to give you limited game and they're not going to teach you how to actually do this stuff. And they're not going to put things in your face and actually give you the information so that you can actually take action on yourself. Because my goal is if everybody takes action, then guess what? The whole system can change. All right. So I love you guys. Thank you guys for watching. Again, comment down below if you want more information about this, want to learn more about this. I love you guys, and I'll see you next time.